Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to continue this study of the Yoga Sutras. This one is a very interesting next sutra, and I'll do my best to share my own ideas about it. It's really worth contemplating, I think. It's really worth spending time to contemplate. It says the Sanskrit is klesha, which means the obstacles to freedom of mind, the obstacles to ending suffering, the kleshas. Mula, klesha mula, the root of these kleshas, the root problem. Karmasaya. Karmasaya is the reservoir or womb of these karmas. So, in other words, all of our actions have a storehouse, and in Buddhist terminology, it's called the alaya, or the store consciousness. Uh, So it's worth thinking about. It's kind of like the Jungian notion of the collective unconscious or the unconscious. That this is the idea that we have an unconscious, and even if we're not aware of it, it still informs our actions. It still informs our thoughts, our actions, what we do with ourselves, our unconscious. Right? Or in yogic terms, it's the karma saya. In Buddhist terms, it's the alaya, the store consciousness. Drishta, seen or present. Right? Drishta is what is seen, or adrishta. Adrishta means unseen or future. Could be possibly future. So, what is seen and what is also not seen. So again, this idea that there's things that we're not totally aware of. They exist down deep in the consciousness. Janma means births. Vedanya means experienced. So the translation here is the womb of action and reaction. The womb, right? The store place of actions, of everything that we do, and all of our reactions. If we want to know why we act or react the way we do, we got to go down deep into this storehouse. Has its roots in these obstacles, right? The hindrances or the kleshas has its roots. Aversion, attachment, ignorance, these are the kleshas. And these actions bring experience into what we can see as well as what we don't see in the future. So it's kind of laying out a mental map of how karma or action works. Our karma is based on something that it's past actions stored deep in our unconscious. And this affects what we see in the present as well as what we see in the future. And these kleshas, these hindrances, are rooted in the store consciousness. So we may not be able to see all of these roots, the reasons why we act or react the way we do. So it's giving you a kind of a conceptual roadmap of how suffering works, how suffering manifests itself. All right, so if that's the case, then what do we do about it? That's what yoga is really after. It's not going to just leave us hanging and say, okay, this is the way that we suffer. There's got to be a way out of that suffering. Well, I think an initial way out then is by becoming aware that our actions and reactivity doesn't come from nowhere. It doesn't come from the immediate present moment, that there's deeper roots in it. And it affects not only the present moment, but also the future. So that's a start. And then to become active in our own life, in our own practice, to notice some of these our own actions or reactions that are based in the unconscious part of the mind, and to actively stop them through well, it could be a lot of ways, but compassion is one of the biggest ways to develop compassion. I will add that to this here, is that it's important to, even if we don't understand fully where our reactivity is coming from, to proceed, to consider proceeding with compassion. Now, that might be really, really difficult in certain circumstances, but it requires pausing for a moment and noticing, okay, I'm having a reactive pattern that is not completely, it's not completely caused by what I'm seeing in the present moment. There may be deeper roots to it. In any case, yoga, hatha yoga, what we're doing is preparing our body to be open and to release some of these actions or reactivity that maybe create suffering. One way to think about this. All right. Okay. Let's start. Let's take a moment to slow the body down, slow the mind down, without necessarily trying to do anything with our physical body, but just keeping it relatively still, relatively quiet. Just mentally slowing, and notice that the mind runs quite fast at times. And we're purposely just noticing that speed, and if you can, make the choice to not to get off the train. Make the choice to get off the train of thoughts. Right? What does it feel like to get off a speeding bullet train? It's that same feeling when we land. Right? The bullet train has taken us to our destination, and now we're at our destination. We can get off, we can start walking, and we slow our physical body slows down. We got to catch our mind up to our body. In other words, we got to slow our mind down to be in sync with the movement of our body. Right? So just slowing down the body a little bit, and right, noticing as we come into a stiller place. Right? So the mind slows down to meet up with the body. And one way to do that is to become more aware of our physical body, just where it is, we're not moving anywhere. We're not actually moving. Actually, we are moving, and the whole planet is moving, but we don't see it unless we're still. The only way we can see how much the world moves is for us not to. All right, so we step off the train, sit down, and see, even though we're off the train, it's like the entire world is still moving. Can we become aware of that movement, even in this stillness? So we are still, and yet the whole world, including ourselves, is moving at a rapid pace. So just take a moment, see if you can enter that stream of rapid movement in stillness. We say stillness in movement, movement in stillness. All right, let's go ahead.